All right, let's see who's deciding to show up early. Doug or Dung. Let's see, Dung and Harriet and Peter. Two Peter Graveses. I remember Peter Graves.
Yeah, wasn't he the guy from Mission Impossible?
Yep, he was the original Mission Impossible. Wow, that's a winner. All right, so that will lead us to our question of the day. So the most important question of the day is obviously the one we put as coming in here. So what was where are you from, first of all? Where are you from, and what was your favorite TV show when you were a kid? So Mission Impossible might be somebody's, Manish. I don't know if that's yours, but that was a dig from the past, wasn't it?
Yes.
So what was your favorite TV show when you were a kid?
Mine, Dallas.
Yeah. Dallas.
Who shot JR?
Exactly. Who shot JR? All right. So that's the question for everybody. And so we're very deep individuals here. So go to the chat, pick up the chat, and tell us where you're from. Hold on, I got to do everyone now. I'm from.
I love the theme song from Dallas.
Woodstock, Maryland. And that's mine. Woodstock, Maryland, Speed Racer is mine. So like I said, I'm a very deep individual here. So there you have it. Oh, come on. Everybody can do that. It's easy. Somebody had their hand raised. Who was that? Did they put it down? Okay, did it. All right, so that's the question. All right, San Diego, Partridge Family. So I wore out the Red Partridge Family album, wore it out when I was a kid. That is a great album, is it not, Brenda? That is awesome. And by the way, I Think I Love You. There you go.
I think you like the Partridge Family because of what's her name, the one who ended up being a lawyer in LA law.
You might think, but that's not true. Actually, I thought David Cassidy was the coolest ever.
I also used to watch this show called Good Times.
Yeah.
Dynamite.
Dynamite. I love it. Sacramento Quantum Leap. That was a great show. That was a really good show. I love that.
Until he jumped back into his own body, and that was the end of the series.
Yes. Right. Born in India, grew up in Egypt, currently living in Kansas City, but Dallas was there you go. As that man, oh man, how'd you do that, Manish? Born in India, grew up in Egypt. Wow, that's awesome. All right, Kimberly's from Atlanta. Let's see.
Hey,
do you see
Dave? Do you have a Taylor? Yeah, David. Do you have a Taylor guitar in the background somewhere?
I do have Taylor guitars, but this is not a Taylor. This was actually given to me by one of our clients. This is a 1968 Gibson. I forget what it is. A Gibson.
It's as old as me.
It is 1968. That's because you're a youngster. A Gibson. It is a little out of tune. But I like that. I like it a lot. And
I'm sorry I wasn't around like you, Dave, for Teddy Roosevelt's inaugural speech. Okay.
Yeah, you know what I can do? I can absolutely disconnect you.
I know.
Thing.
You were a young person, 1968. Okay.
So Carrie, that
I was born in the Lyndon Johnson administration.
Okay.
I was actually born in the. I was just after the Kennedy administration. I was 64. So there you go. So
yes, you were born in the Johnson administration also.
I was. Shelly, that was my hand raised. Wanted to know how many. I make sure my microphone was muted using Zoom on my iPhone. There you go. All right. TV shows. Yes. Favorite TV show. Oh, that's a question. Folks that are coming in now, they got to know what the question is, man. So the question is, where are you from? And what was your favorite TV show when you were a kid? Because what was that whole thing?
Come and knock on my door.
Oh, there you go.
There it is.
Love it.
Company.
That was a classic. John Ritter, awesome. All of that was very good. Love it. Different world. Love it. That's awesome.
Different.
I love Lucy. See, this is how you can find out without asking everybody what generation they're from.
Yeah.
What generation?
Well, okay. So here is the thing.
How
I'm
about
not
Blackie?
from that generation, but I still love. I
got
love
some
Lucy because I
explaining to
watched
do.
it when I grew up.
That's a fact.
We
We
got
all
some
did, right?
explaining
We all
to
did.
do.
We all did.
That's right. Three's got a
Company's
couple
good.
for, and Baba Black Sheep, that was a winner too.
MASH.
What a great one. MASH was just,
What does MASH stand for?
I know what it meant for, what it stands for. Mobile Army Surgical Hospital.
Hospital. Yeah.
Come on now. Come on. What do I win, Manish? What do I win?
Lassie. Wow.
Oh,
What's that girl who's in trouble?
she's in the well. There you go. All right. Kids Science Show. You're a nerd. You're right, Carrie.
The next generation.
That's good.
I
Star
like
Trek.
them all. Yeah.
Any of the Star Treks. Star Trek, such great. All right. So that's the question. A-Team, love it. A pity a fool.
Yes.
All right.
In
Love it.
1979, a crack team
Great.
of commandos escaped a maximum security stockade. Why do I know the themes of all these songs?
That is an absolute fact.
They
Awesome.
escaped to the Los Angeles Underground. If you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
All right. Leroy, you want to talk? Go ahead. You there, Leroy? You can. Let me ask you to unmute. Leroy, you there?
Leroy's on mute.
I don't know. You can unmute yourself,
Thundercats.
Leroy.
That is good.
All right. I love Lucy again. Thundercat. Dynasty. Love Boat. The plane. The plane.
The plane.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, we're never going to get any work done if we keep doing this.
Exciting, and you come aboard. We're expecting you.
Well, Dave, Leroy still has the hand up. Leroy,
I know
you
he
want
does.
to?
Leroy, do you have your hands up? Oh, we got Dung is from Hyattsville, Maryland. That's awesome. Not too far from me. Not too far.
I can't seem to get in.
You can't seem to get in. You're here.
Okay. All right.
Awesome, Leroy. And you're good. So why we got you? Where are you from? And what was your favorite TV show when you were a kid?
I'm from Detroit and the A-Team.
A-Team.
Yes.
That's right. We already did that.
The BA in Baraka stands for badass.
All right. I'm gonna mutify you again, Leroy, but you feel free to raise your hand again. I'm gonna put your hand down just in case. I'm hoping everybody sees what we got cooking. Welcome to everybody that is here. We got who was that last one? Anchorage, Alaska.
Very
Awesome.
nice.
Love it, love it, love it. Appreciate you guys being here. Welcome. This is a hot one, guys. We got a whole bunch of folks from many different agencies here. We love these interagency briefings. We actually did one on this about a month ago. Had a ton of folks here too. So if you're rejoining us, fantastic. Tanya from St. Louis, that's fantastic. And if you want to let us know what your favorite TV show when you were a kid, that's great. That's fine. There's a couple here that I want to say either you guys changed your logos or I just don't know. There's a BOEM, which is a Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. Love that. And also the agricultural NAS. I don't know that I've ever seen that logo before. Of all the briefings that we've done, that's the first time I've seen that one.
Yeah, that's the division for the statistics, natural aggregate. All the statistics that USDA uses comes from NAS. They
All
gather
right.
the USDA stats.
Well, at least one of us knows who that is. I appreciate that, Manish. All right, listen up. This will be the best briefing ever. This is what we ask people to come in. Laura says, if I can make an assessment if RPA is an investment worth advocating for in our efforts to provide excellent customer care. I do believe that it probably is. Charette, I can use this for Paperwork Reduction Act processes. Can we do that, Kamal?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely, positively. In fact, you got a lot of experience in that. Robin from VHA, no time is wasted. Get straight to the point. What it is, how to use it, next steps for those interested. I promise we're going to get to the point now that we're all done with our kids shows. Christopher, everyone receives a $1,000 bonus. This is absolutely going to happen. All you need to do is get approval from your boss. That's it.
That's 100,000 bonus, not 1,000.
100,000? Did I say 100,000?
It says 100K there.
100K. That's what I thought I said. 100K.
Okay.
100K bonus. All right. Lee from VA. I can understand what's being said. Technical jargon can be confusing. You are so right. Susan from ICE. Provide the advantages and disadvantages of using RPA. We'll do some of that, right, guys?
Yeah.
And suggest when, who, how, where best to use RPA. Love it. We're going to give some examples of how it has been used and some examples of from the last time talking to folks, right? Where we'll give you some examples of what they were looking for. John from USDA, talk about auto converting emails to PDFs and storing on Box as part of a permanent record. Wow, that sounds like a winner. And Joshua, is there coverage regarding the best way to set a bot set up for an organization? There's a lot of different ways to do that. And I'm sure that you're probably going to want to talk to these folks afterward. D from BLM, we find out about an extension for the M1921 extension. I don't know that there has been one. I do know that if there is going to be one, it's above my pay grade, it's above everybody's pay grade here, because that was done by the president himself. So please address, here we go, guys. You're gonna like this. Michael from the FAA, automating review of government OMB standard forms. Love that idea, right? Love that. So robotic technology, improving the quality of employment for disabled, from Philip at the VA. Love that idea as well. Brian, what type of complex task analysis can bots do to assist in the analytical landscape? Wow, that's a great one, isn't it, Manish?
Yes.
Martha, how is this technology funded? And are we also looking at ways to enhance the system we use with automation? Absolutely. You definitely want to do that, right, Kamal?
Absolutely.
Use what you got. Steve from DHS, how to educate and convince management of the effectiveness of this. That's always a challenge, being able to run that up. And how do we determine the best ROI on its use? Love that. And there are definitely ways to do that. I think you got some numbers for us in a little bit, right, Manish?
Yes, we are.
And Letitia, is it more efficient to use RPA built into an existing platform like Appian? Great question, right, Kamal?
Oh, yeah.
That's a winner. And
Yes.
John from USDA, is a box a permanent record, or is that agency by agency? What is not the repository? What is not the for all? We're gonna figure out what you're meaning by that, John, and figure what that is. And Jarvis, what is RPA? So we have people that are like, hey, we want to use Appian, so you already know what RPA is. And then we have folks that don't know anything about RPA, and that's great, because that's why we're doing this, right? So that everybody can get what they need out of the session. I love it. And we're going to keep it as non-technical as possible, because we don't want to put people into a coma.
Yeah.
So you do have access to the session docs. That's going to be posted right into the chat as we speak right this minute. The briefing presentation, you get a copy of that. The presidential memoranda, you have links to that, as well as a maturity cycle, which you have, which we're going to be talking about. If you have no idea, never been on a Zoom meeting before, can't imagine that's the case, but you can go up to the top and make it side by side and pick your view and make it just customized to you. That's just how awesome this is. And if you want to participate, we love that idea, as always, don't we? And what we're going to do is we're going to put the docs, because we have 83 people, so that's enough, right? So put the docs in the chat. That's where you're going to find that. If you have questions, you can raise your hand and you can pop it into the Q&A. So that way we can keep track of those and make sure we disseminate that to everybody. And if you want to have a private dialogue, make sure you're reaching out to Manish himself personally. So otherwise, and that way we don't have to share all of the secrets that you have or that you want to keep. How you like that? So with that, we're going to ask the question, why in the world did you guys show up here today? You're trying to understand the need for RPA. We're reviewing areas where we can use RPA. We're implementing, you can choose as many as you want, by the way. We're implementing RPA and want best practices. Love that. And we have a special RPA issue that we want to address. We can always take a look at that for you if you have that. I'm worried about RPA taking my job. Oh boy, that can be a hot one. And my boss made me come. Of course, we're going to have some Weisenheimers, 4 already that are Weisenheimers saying their boss made it come. That's a big one with the RPA taking a job, right, Kamal? I mean, that's one.
Yes, we'll address that.
We'll address that. All right. So while you're answering that, we'll talk about the agenda. We're going to do introductions. Got a little bit to tell you about the folks that are here. We're going to do our RPA versus IA because there's a difference in that. What are the industry trends? The current IA landscape, what's happening in your world in the federal government, and give you some use cases that you can see how it has already been done. And we're also going to look at some stuff that we learned from last time. And what are the roadblocks for adopting this type of intelligent automation and how to mitigate those roadblocks. And we know some of those roadblocks, like we heard before, is that they're just not, they got to get buy-in from superiors to be able to make it work. So Kamal, tell us a little bit about you and 6E Technologies. You founded in 2003.
Right.
Give us an overview.
6E Technologies. Hi, everyone. I'm managing partner of 6E Technologies. We are an ERP. We started off as an ERP company implementing large enterprise systems and providing business intelligence on the data that was collected in those transactions coming from the ERP systems. And then about 10 years ago, we kind of realized that we are creating all these silo systems that are not talking to each other. So automation became a natural progression for our company. So we do three things. We implement ERP systems, we provide intelligence on the data that is collected in those ERP systems, and then we go ahead and connect those systems so that things are seamless. So that's what we do. Dave, we can move to the next slide.
All right. This gives an explanation. Whoa, that's the wrong one. There you go. There you are, Kamal. And Manish, tell us a little bit about you.
I am a biochemical engineer who ended up on the IT side, not realizing I was better at IT than biochemical engineering. I started off in a pharmaceutical company and made the mistake of telling my boss that we needed a new ERP system because we didn't have one that would work or save the company money. I told them it would cost $2 million. They said we couldn't afford it. They lost $50 million worth of drug because they didn't have it, and I was moved over to IT. So I've been doing IT for the past 25 years now. For the last 20 years, been in business intelligence, data analytics, and over the last 5 to 7 years, I've started moving more into the RPA arena with data analysis, just so that we can automate some of the data governance and data testing and data reporting and visualization. So I'm doing both RPA and data warehousing and data analytics now combined.
Love it. Love it. And that's what happens, right? You find out, hey, I can fix stuff, and then you get put into fixing stuff.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about this real quick. What is intelligent automation, and how does that differentiate? How is that different from RPA? What does that mean?
So I'll take that one, Dave. There is a lot of talk going on right now with the industry moving so fast, the technology industry moving so fast, and creating confusion between RPA versus intelligent automation. So the way I look, or the automation industry looks at robotics process automation versus intelligent automation is robotics. The RPA is basically a low code, no code, repetitive task, no intelligent build, is not going to learn from its environment, is going to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. Whereas intelligent automation is also known as cognitive automation, and you can imagine from the word cognitive in there is basically collecting information back and becoming more and more intelligent as it learns from the environment. So the layer of intelligence is built in, layer of machine learning is built in, and the business process management kind of oversees that. So there is a difference, but consider intelligent automation as a subset of robotics process automation. Bots are the start of your process.
Love that. So let's ask them, what are examples of what you think, picking the examples of intelligent automation, right? Is it self-driving vehicles? Netflix suggesting a show for you. We know that happens on a regular basis. Filing your taxes using TurboTax, getting directions to your favorite restaurant, or Roomba cleaning your home. So there's some examples that you can kind of figure out which ones of these are really all part of intelligent automation. And while we're talking about that, while they're doing that, why should we even care about intelligent automation, guys?
Well, Manish, you want me to take this or you want to take it?
Either you, why don't you take it?
Yeah. You should care about, everyone should be caring about intelligent automation right now. I'll start with that. Dave, you know my soap. It's cost saving. It's cost saving. Everyone wants to save money. And nobody wants to do the mundane work, the repetitive work that continues to be done the same way every day, every minute, and every second. So we want to have humans doing value-based tasks where we need intelligence, more than the intelligence that machine can provide. So don't get me wrong, there are intelligent machines, but human intelligence is uncomparable. So we want humans to be used for high-value work. RPA, you put a bot together, it works 24/7 by 365, is not gonna stop until you ask it to stop. It offers more accuracy, as we all know. When we get tired, we make mistakes. We all know we make mistakes in numbers, in reading, we do make mistakes.
There's two different errors that we want to introduce here if you don't know what these are. First error is a picnic error. What is a picnic error?
This is a term used by help desk people that says problem in chair, not in computer. When it's
That's
user
right. error.
It's a
That's
different way
exactly
to say
what she's talking about.
user error.
Bots don't get tired, humans get tired and have picnic errors. That's that part. Real quick, before you continue that, let me end this poll, and I want you to see this, and so we can get an understanding. Real quick, which ones of these are really IA, and which ones of these are not?
So D is not intelligent. And the reason is you tell the GPS you want to go there, the only intelligence it can tell you is it's sort of intelligent, but not really. If you change a route, if you don't take the prescribed route, it's going to reroute you. So that's the only intelligence it knows. Mm-hmm. But if you say, if there is no mechanism for it to learn from your driving habits, for example, right. There are GPSs that are being built now that are intelligent. So for example, Tesla's GPS, when someone gets in their car, and Tesla knows if someone is getting in the car at 9 a.m., they are going to office. So automatically the map shows the office map. So that is considered intelligent. But just your Google map is not an intelligent map, is how I look at it.
Right on. I do have Google telling me that when I get back in the car that it's X amount of minutes back home, or it's X amount of minutes to a place that I go all the time. So to your point, it's getting smarter every day. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. There's one other error that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. And then we'll continue on this, but does anybody know what an ID10T error is? I have these errors on a regular basis. So I want to point this out to everybody, because if you don't take anything else from this session, you're going to love this, right? So an ID10T error is the letters I, D, the number 10, and the letter T.
Prevalent among the management layer, right? Yes.
That's it. And I am loaded with it.
I will actually raise my hands for an ID10T error yesterday. So right. Our contracting officer, she's Angela Fisher, love her. She actually put on our calendar saying grandson being born will be out today. And I sent her a text. Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
There is no amount of RPA or IA that's going to fix that.
Yeah. So
I thought you were going to comment on the fact that she put it on our calendar, and I'm like, how does she know the time the kid's going to be born?
Oh, It was an opted surgery.
So we've covered point 4
yeah.
very well in what RPA and IA can do to help, right? So let's talk about this. And really it's about allowing folks to do important tasks as opposed to mundane, right?
Right.
And that's
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can finish this off, then we'll be able to get it.
So and traceability. So if you're collecting data on paper, for example, such as forms, and you're not collecting that in a way where it is traceable, audit is always very difficult. So this is an inherent way to make the things easier down the road. So automation just has inherent way to capture the data the right way, and of course that improves service overall, boosts efficiency, and your clients are your constituents are happier with you.
Yep, and we had that as part of the question. Say, how does this affect customer service? How can how can I best be able to enhance our customer service? And we all want the mission to be done, right? So everybody here, if you're from the VA, love the VA mission, by the way, love it. One of the best missions that we have is taking care of our veterans, right? And the mundane things and the repetitive tasks that create either human error in that we know that there's potential issues there. I'm not going to go into what I have experienced with the VA, not me personally, but helping your organizations within the VA. But the idea is how do we increase the efficiency, reduce the human errors, and put humans with the brains that we do have to work for being able to accomplish the mission that there's no computer that can do it. And that's why we have the directive from the president for M1921 to say, hey, let's make this a priority within our organizations to effectively figure out where RPA can fit so that RPA can handle those things, right? And then
exactly. So out of all the things that we showed in the previous slide, Dave, this is one big piece that can actually be handled by RPA or intelligent automation, because this is for M1921, the automation has to become intelligent for many reasons that we can discuss with people who are interested in M1921 directive. But we are, as we were discussing last time as well, we are already late on this. So we're pretty behind. And I have not heard of any date change. And if someone has, I would love to hear that. I have not heard, and it's above our pay grade. So one of the deadlines is approaching now. And
one's only a day after the other one.
Yes.
Last time I checked, I don't need RPA to tell me.
We've got 6 months.
We've got 6 months. At least starting something would be a good idea right now. So we can go to the next slide, Dave. Yep. This is pretty evident. I will let Manish talk about these slides now.
Okay, excellent. So we did some cost-saving metrics based on our commercial work where we've done a lot of RPA and some of the agency work we've done so far. The GSA, and this is published in numerous places, they estimate a cost savings of $3 billion a year just on the federal civilian side if we can improve productivity by 1%. That's literally a cost savings of $150 million an hour across the government based on a 2,000-hour work year.
Wow.
We also know that there's 2.4 million jobs that will have to be filled by 2028, and that's just 6 years out. And already 78% of the leaders are worried about an aging workforce in their agencies. Plus, in terms of quality, 84% of quality costs are caused by manual errors. This is the picnic errors, as we call them. And that's the low-cost savings we want to hang on to. And just as a thing, and you saw it on the last one too, that 1.5 million actually translates to about $41,000 a minute. So I think I just saved the lost the government $41,000 on that last slide.
Yeah, because you're taking up their time.
Yes.
And not getting to the point. You are getting to the point. The
So,
point is, got to start.
But on the if you translate some of those numbers that we've seen on the commercial side, we can really see the improvements we can do on the federal side. So, for example, implementing RPA commercial has seen a 27% increase in productivity with intelligent automation, right? That suddenly that $3 billion for a 1% improvement becomes over $80 billion at a 27% improvement.
Wow.
And literally that's like handing a stimulus check of $1,000 to every household in the US. I know it's a little less than COVID, but it's getting there. And in terms of worker training, based on using RPAs, you would be able to save the government about $10 billion annually on training the new workforce over the next 6 years. Because what RPA allows you to do is to take tacit knowledge, which is in the aging workforce's heads right now, and convert it to explicit knowledge, which can be used for training.
Wow. That's a big problem, by the way.
Yes,
with people
a huge problem
that are leaving, that they're
Yes.
everything that they know leaves with them. And wow, how
Yes.
cool would it be to be able to transfer at least a percentage of that?
Absolutely. And in terms of on the commercial side, implementing RPAs has reduced the overall quality cost by 26% because of the number of errors. And if 84% of errors are caused by picnic errors, as we call them, obviously a 26% decrease in that on a 40% development team, and I saw this myself on one of my projects, we had a 60% team where we had a 2-to-1 ratio. There were 40 developers, 20 QA people. We were able to reduce the quality people by 5, the QA people by 5, and that was an 8% reduction in the overall workforce. That would translate to a $16 billion savings across the government, just on the QA side.
No, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the concerns in a minute, because there was a
and
couple
Koma alluded to this, that only about 30% of the civilian agencies have started that journey right now. And this is a poll of the federal agencies. And if you wait another 2 years, you will fall behind, because every agency is starting to look at it. But in 2 years, instead of being in the remaining 70% who haven't really taken a look at RPA, you'd be in the bottom 10% in another 2 years if you haven't started RPA.
Yep. So. And Mandeep is asking, I'm interested in learning how RPA IA can be integrated into the contact centers. Is there any information on that? I do believe so.
Yes, and we will be talking about that in one of our case studies. I'm assuming your contact center, you mean by a help desk, or where people call for information, like a call center help desk.
Yeah.
So we do talk about that with one of our case studies to do with the Army and Veterans Affairs. So
Mandeep says call centers. Yes, good assumption there, my man. So very good. Well, so yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So in fact, let's talk about some of the case studies. These are projects that have already done. Right?
This is the one I was talking about.
Boom! Look at that. What a great setup.
So for the U.S. Army, there are currently 2 million people in 600,000 in the active U.S. Army, another 2.1 million in the reserves, and another 5 million that were in the Guard at some point. And each U.S. Army soldier or former soldier has a contract based on their length of service, rank, deployments, that determines their pay and benefits, their pension, basically. And obviously, if the soldier is deceased, this includes the surviving spouses. So there are over 5 million of these contracts that are being administered by the VA and by the Army, and that have to be managed. And whenever there are questions, whether it's the soldier themselves or their spouse or their dependent who's calling, they have to work with these guys in getting them the information. So what we did is we implemented an intelligent automation solution that used natural language to determine where was the best place to start in a hierarchical tree based on the question they were asking. And it was based on natural language processing, and then based on neural networks, which basically would ask them questions to try and narrow themselves down to the answer. Because in business, I'm going to get a little technical here. In business conversation, there's only 3 rules to conversation. You're trying to eliminate choices. Do you want to talk about benefits to someone who's deceased or not deceased, as an example? And then the next rule is, if you go too far down a branch and you get an answer that doesn't agree with one of the issues, you have to go back to where you fell off, you moved off that branch, and then go down that path. So every answer validates the next answer. And the last rule, which is the most important, is if you reach the end of a branch, you're going to fall off. If the system doesn't have an answer, then it escalates you to a real live person who will conduct the rest of that interview, but that will all be captured by the tool. So next time the system answers that. So the call center theoretically never answers the same question twice. It's a self-learning knowledge base that grows and can be used as a knowledge base for people. And the 10 top questions that are answered automatically get updated on the website based on which branches are the strongest as we look at it. The other thing it did was, if they needed information, the automatic system would tell them, you need to have their social security number, or you need to have their veteran's ID number and all that. So when they actually got in touch with a real live person, they would have that information. So the average time of the calls went from 11 minutes to 7 minutes. And in terms of callbacks, because they didn't have information on something, that dropped from a little over 3 calls to 2.5 calls per person. And overall, based on benefits and stuff that they were looking for, they got their answers or their stuff resolved in 23 days instead of 31. Now, 8 days might not seem like a lot, but I'll tell you the difference in 8 days right now. Today is the 28th of June. Getting my benefits today instead of 8 days later on July 6th makes the difference whether I can pay my rent this month or not.
That's right.
That's the difference right here that a lot of people sometimes miss.
And so you have deliverable benefits. That means, okay, you are able to deliver the benefits to the beneficiary, right? Whoever is supposed to get the benefits, right?
Exactly.
And then
it's not that we made the government any more efficient in sending out the benefits or resolving problems. We just resolved their problems 8 days sooner, so the post office could take care of whatever they needed to 8 days sooner.
That's right. And so there's some pretty significant percentages. If you take a look at 2.6 to 3.2, it doesn't sound like big numbers, but that's a big number when you start talking about 5 million contracts. So just
if you want to do the math across this and go 4 minutes off of 11 minutes, that's 33%. 0.6 calls off of 3.2, that's 20%. 8 days off of 31, that's 25%.
Yeah, that's significant.
Yeah.
So great example, timely, good that go from Mandeep.
Okay.
So let's talk about this one.
So the USDA Farm Production and Conservation, we had built them a business intelligence system, and the RPA and workflow implemented here was to pull data from about 250 data sources into a consolidated tool that looked at not only enterprise data, but also spatial data, and combined both of them. About 6 years ago now, in 2016, Hurricane Hugo or Hurricane Michael was coming into the US along the North Carolina coast. And our data showed us that it was following a path very similar to Hurricane Hugo from 2006. We were able to use the data generated in 2006 and predict where Hurricane Michael would go and what damage it would do. Using the data from 2006, we realized that it destroyed 85%, Hugo did, of the North Carolina peanut crop. And by having and talking to farmers and stuff, if they had harvested that crop early, they would have got about 85% of the value of their crop instead of 100%. So what we did was we had the USDA send out an edict saying to all the North Carolina peanut farmers, harvest your crop early. We'll pay the difference of 15% that you're going to lose because you're harvesting it early. but paying 15% to 100% of the farmers in North Carolina was better than paying 100% to 80% of the farmers who would
Wow.
have lost their crop based on Hurricane Hugo. And so overall, we saved the government about $29 million. I know it says XXX dollars here, but we'll fix that.
$29 million.
Unknown amount of dollars. Yes, $29
There you
million.
go.
So we had
Excellent.
them harness that crop early.
That's
So for the
fantastic.
federal,
That's the real question is can you fill that in on the sheet after you print it out? You fill that in, $29 million.
for the Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration, one of the divisions within it, the state division, is the one that's used to give grants from the national level to the state level. This
Yep.
occurs with the Federal Transit Administration, who gives money to local agencies to run their transit systems. The FHW gives them money to look at their roads and commercial trucks and stuff like that. This comes out of the 18.5 cents that you pay on every gallon of gas. So that money is distributed to the states, but the formula to distribute it to the states is based on how they did in their inspections last year for the commercial vehicles, how they did on what the vehicles that were going through the state in terms of how many of them were within compliance or not compliance, and the top 5 states got a higher percentage, the middle 30 states got a different percentage, the lower 10 got a lower percentage, and that entire thing of having the data automatically uploaded and them filling out the questionnaires at the state level, we automated that so that it became easy. It wasn't a chore for people to spend a day or two to put this information together every month and every year. By automating it, it took them 10 minutes to upload the information because we made it more of a question and answer format like TurboTax does in helping you fill out your taxes. And it basically fills in the answers you give back into the right place on the form, which then gets uploaded to the state. And then if the state has any questions, it asks them back in a IA format and that you can just answer. And it just made the process a lot faster. We were able to reduce on average from each of the states, if they had 4 FTEs doing this work, down to about 2 FTEs. Now, the other 2 FTEs, those positions were not eliminated. The state was able to allocate those positions to other work. And in cases, some of them reallocated those 2 positions to helping them get better at this. So, for example, reducing the amount of accidents that occurred with commercial vehicles, the other 2 FTEs were put towards that and increasing their inspections within the state, or marketing to commercial drivers driving to the state that you need to do this. And so that made them an even better to get even more grant money the following year. Because, for example, Arkansas increased their thing from being 43rd in the state in the list of states to 8th in the list of states the following year, because they assigned their 2 FTEs to doing that kind of work. And so they got a larger share of the grant next year.
And that goes, I think that's really an important point, is that the objective is to take away the mundane and put it into something that the human beings can only make those changes and effectively change those. And then having the systems get smarter as you go. And I wrote down, it's all driven by the agency's business practices. It's driven by what you need done and by what is the mundane parts, right? We're not inventing a system that just all of a sudden does it. You have to put it in as part of your business practice, right?
It allows you to take a step back and look at, am I doing this the best way? And an example I always use with potential clients and other people is, you can dig a swimming pool with a spoon. It'll just take a lot longer. But if you use a backhoe, which RPA is, then you can use your time for other pursuits and you can dig that thing for the pool faster.
Yeah. That's a great example.
And I'll add something here, Dave. This is, this exercise. Now think about some of the processes, not only in just government, but also in our commercial world, are so old processes. We are doing it this way because we have done it for 1,000 years is sometimes the fact, right? So we don't take a step back and we don't say, what is a better way of doing the same thing that we have been doing for 1,000 years? So this exercise in itself just gives that perspective for us to have a sort of a, outsider view and say, is this the best way to do it? And then re-engineer the process to make it even more efficient before it goes into the technology world. So it's a great exercise in general, not just to include technology, but in just from a business process re-engineering standpoint.
Yep.
And I'll give you a 15-second story, which Como's heard a million times. About 10 years ago, there was a truck that got stuck on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, I-76. And they had all these engineers trying to figure out how to get it out and everything because it was stuck in the tunnel. And one of the fathers who had a 6-year-old daughter with him and was stuck in traffic behind it, walked her up there to show her what it was like. And she looked at it and she said, "Daddy, why don't they just take the air out of the tires?" She thought of it completely differently. They did that and lowered the truck enough to pull it out of the tunnel. That's what I'm talking about. We've always done it this way, and sometimes you need a different view.
And a 6-year-old will do it every single time.
No, but the thing is, when you are inside the processes, you don't think it that way. You can't.
Your head's down, you're doing your job, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and not necessarily thinking about the improved side of things. All right, let's talk about HR administration.
Yes, let's do this. This is a commercial client, growing leaps and bounds. They wanted to grow. They actually right now are about 1.7 billion. They started off, when we started with them, they were about $1 billion organization, and they want to go 2.4 billion at the end of 2024. Can you imagine the recruiting they do? So what the challenge was, they were reviewing about the recruiters were reviewing 6 resumes per open position. And that was taking a lot of time. This is something that could be done automatically. So what we did was we created a process for them, which included RPA and intelligent automation to scan the first ingestion of the resume to make sure that the skill set is aligned. It's very easy to find the skill set on through optical character recognition, so that resumes that are not good enough for that position are screened out. Then an automated message would go to the people who are selected to actually record their interview based on the questions that were decided. So no human involvement to this point. And those interviews were then sent to the hiring managers to say, hey, out of 6, we think that we will talk to only 4 of them, and out of those 4, these are the 4 interviews that were recorded. You pick who you want to talk with, and then they would actually pick either all 4 of them or 3 out of 4, depending on what the personality type was. And then the system can now go in, this was done just a couple of months ago, can go in now and set up interviews, in-person as in on Teams interviews with the applicants, and map and put it on the hiring manager's calendar. So they actually did not have to hire a bunch of recruiters to increase the capacity. So they increased the capacity using the technology without adding any more personnel to do the job. So it's a great use case, and they now they can review up to 700 resumes and screen and route 250 candidates in a week. It's actually a really good success story.
Yeah, and it also goes to the expertise that you have in going paperless and making sure that the data is coming in the way that it needs to.
Right.
Love that.
And this is also helping them develop a database of people. Think about it. It's just automated.
I love it. That's fantastic. So let's talk about some of the roadblocks, and then we're going to get to a couple of things. I think Adrian says it's breaking up a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm hearing the feedback okay from you every once in a while. Hey, this is technology, and it may not be any of our faults, but we are recording it. So guess what? You can go back and listen to it again. There you go. And Terry just said. Let's talk about some of the roadblocks. So security and credentialing, big deal right now.
Absolutely.
So how do we deal with this?
Well, we have to chalk out clear measures to ensure the integrity and preservation of records, as it says. But one of the main things about security with IA is taking a look at what your agencies currently has in terms of regulations and standards, and making sure that the RPA follows those.
That's right. Right. Zero trust. That's another part.
Yes.
We've been talking about zero trust a lot. Lack of training.
Well, so there's a lot of training available out there, and a lot of the vendors, and because we're technology agnostic, we have training programs in place to help you get started with it. I would recommend that people take a look at what's out there, even on YouTube and stuff, in terms of potential training exercises that they can look at.
And starting on time will be pertinent if someone wants to embark on this journey.
Yep. Lack of consensus. Always challenging.
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Okay.
When we start talking about RP in general and automation for the organization, within the department of an organization, sometimes it becomes so overwhelming that you feel like you're boiling ocean. So step back, start with smaller tasks, find those pockets, get quicker wins before you scale up. Don't try to do everything at the same time. It's just not a good idea and never works.
Yep. Do pilots, do quick wins to take that upstream. And there was a lot of question about how can you illustrate this to your management of how RPA works. Take smaller pieces, do illustrations, say, hey, we did this and we got that. If we do half that, well, we'll do awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
You might be able to get a little funding to do a pilot project at the front.
Yep.
Get a smaller task, get a smaller win, and then go get the larger budget for the rest of it.
Correct.
Workforce displacement. This is one of the things that came up early, right?
Yeah.
Yes. We talked about this, which is that we've actually seen in terms of results that it's not displacing workers out of the workforce. It's actually displacing workers into higher value jobs. They're doing higher value work now. And
higher value jobs pay
higher
better.
value tasks.
Yes.
So it actually works in your favor. Not in the budget yet. We hear every once in a while we hear that. Not in any agency is here. Nobody here has any problems with their budgets.
So what we've done a lot in agencies is where it's lumped together with other tasks. So as a business process improvement task or a data analytics task, RPA can be brought in as an example to show them, like one of the smaller tasks. You have to do data analytics. That means your data has to be clean. You have to have it in the right place. You have to get it from the right people. If there's errors in it, you have to go back to the people to get it fixed at the data source. All of these are tasks that can be automated through RPA. So even though the primary task is data analytics that you're looking for, the tasks that go into doing data analytics can be automated and be used to show that as a demonstration for RPA in your organization.
Love it. Great stuff. Great stuff. So you can't read all this thing, but it is part of the handouts that you have. So where are you in the automation maturity life cycle? Real important to understand where you are. And I think I can launch that as a poll if we want to. Do we want to find that out?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Where are we? So have you, the question is, have you started? Have you identified your tasks, right? Have you created a task force and have a formal implementation plan? You have your stakeholders engaged, formal ATO, right? ATO stands for what?
Yeah. And I would have estimated that the government is currently around 1.3, 1.4.
Yep. Stakeholders engaged, and then complete agency-wide implementation heading towards centers of excellence. And if you're heading towards a center of excellence, let us know, because that's the kind of stuff we want to feature here on GovBrief. That's all I have to say about that. So let's talk about the initial adoptions. I love this slide, by the way. So Love it. So take us through this while they're finishing up on that poll for us.
So planning is critical to this process. Then making sure that you're, as I said earlier, don't try to boil the ocean. It's never going to work. Start with a smaller process to get the quick win. Train the stakeholders. When you train the stakeholders as beginning of the process, they see the value, and you getting the funding finally is much higher, larger funding to go above and beyond that just first process that you pick. And then creating a core team. The stakeholders have to be onboarded before you start talking to a little bit larger team, and then build and test and continue to roll out. And if something doesn't work, always have a backup plan. I have a question here. Let's just pull that up. How does this process compare to the platforms Microsoft has in place with bots and that agencies already has access to? So as Manish said earlier, when it comes to bots, if you already have a technology in place, use it.
Yeah.
Yes, use it.
Yeah.
Because that's the first hurdle is out. You're not going out to look for a technology that can do this work for you, but you may run into a situation where whatever Microsoft product that you're using for bots may not have all the areas that it can cover for your larger needs. And that's when you start talking about, okay, I've done this portion, but now I need to cover the two other business processes together or connect them. So that's when you start looking for more technology. But
use what
I would
you
say
got.
yes,
Even if you
absolutely.
If you got a tricycle, ride the tricycle.
Yes,
That's what
absolutely.
you have.
Yes.
And it might-
If you're using APN, there was a question.
Yeah.
If you're using APN, please go ahead and continue going deeper and deeper with APN to do automation.
Love it. I'm going to share this out. This I'm in the poll and sharing it out. So I'm not. What did you say?
I took a look at this poll and I said, if you do the math on this and go 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3 is 19, plus 6, 25, plus 7, 32. 32 out of 36 points. Yeah, the average is about 1.
So and guess what? We're all in this together, folks.
Yes,
you're not alone.
absolutely.
That's the most important thing for everybody here is you're not alone, and yet you can still move. You can still have forward motion, being able to start to meet some of those demands.
And the stat we used earlier about 70% of the people not having started this, we've got 60% here. So
that's right.
Close.
Right.
And in the last 40 minutes, $1.7 million could have been saved. So
yes,
there you have it. So what we did last time, so we asked a bunch of questions. There's going to be a whole bunch of things that you guys are going to talk about after this. So take us through a couple of these, because these are some real life examples that you did in the past 30 days. This is not like waiting forever. This is the last 30 days, folks. So one of the things that was asked was FOIA backlog.
So the FOIA. So what we did was we went through and looked at it as if this was an RPA for FOIA backlog that we'd have to do. As some of you are probably aware, the EPA is tasked with FOIA requests for most of the federal government. When I worked with FPAC, we used to handle FOIA requests the same way. When the data would come in, we'd organize the data from all the different channels, all the FOIA requests. We'd remove the redundant data, or the RPA would, because there are plenty of people who call in and say, I need this, and also send us an email, and then also tell someone else in the organization that they need it. And I have 3 requests from the same person. So we remove that. We create a specific queue for the request. As American Express says, something do have their privileges. Any request from Congress or the legislative and executive branches would take precedent over citizen requests.
Oh man, what are you saying?
I know. We'd create, at least we didn't favor Democrats over Republicans or something like that. So We create periodic reports tailored per the agency need and workflow and metrics. And of course, we have any pricing information, like when there's a FOIA request for an incumbent on a certain contract, we'd have to redact that information before we sent it out.
Right.
We'd collate the responses and try and do it by electronic delivery if possible, and integrating with the payment processing service. And what this is FOIA requests, because it takes time for people to do them, are not free. Sometimes it's $3, sometimes $15, so they could pay online or whatever it is, and it'd be integrated. And then we'd maintain an audit log for all the checkpoints in the RPA, so we go back and say, oh, if someone comes up with a question and says, how many FOIA requests went out for this proposal, or how many requests did we get from Congress, we would have an audit log and metrics for all of that stuff.
Yep.
So this is basically your 8-step FOIA backlog process.
So real quick, we might go a couple of minutes over just so you can run through these
Yes.
samples for you.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do.
And what this is based on, this we heard you, is, as Dave said, we did a presentation 4 weeks ago, and there were 3 or 4 questions that came up that we hadn't addressed, like you saw in the presentation beforehand. And so we added them for this presentation specifically, because we want to show you we're listening to what you guys are asking for and adding it to our follow-on presentations.
That's right. And we're going to ask the same question right now.
Absolutely.
A little bit early, but so you guys can get out here if you have to bounce at the top of the hour. We'll continue the conversation as long as you need to, but what would you like? Would you like to discuss how you can use RPA with help meeting the presidential memorandum? I have a specific RPA need, or have something else to discuss, please contact me, and then let us know when you want to be contacted. And it can be anytime. It's totally cool. But we want to make sure that you get what you need, and that we start incorporating what your agency is doing so they can benefit other agencies. This isn't just so we can just run out these things. We want to make sure that we're helping you get to where you want to go, and RPA is a way to do it. You already have the mandate. You have it from the president. You have to meet the mandate. So with that, let's talk about one of the other questions that we have is actually procurement automation. That was part of the question coming in. So this may be beneficial for whoever that was.
So I'll take this one. There was actually 3 people who asked this question: how to automate the procurement part of the acquisition. So now there are. So the ERP does this to a certain extent, but doesn't do the entire automation, including the matrix tracking. So when we thought about this use case, we said the roles, responsibility, and timelines are captured and processed to help agency float RFI, RFP. This is very much an ERP task. Vendor management is also ERP. Where we completely automate this will be the purchase order that will connect with the invoices, depending on if it is a what is it called, 3-way or 2-way match, depending on how the process is set up, and then take that data to generate the track matrix, track the matrix of that data to generate reports on spend analysis and outstanding transactions, so the entire process can be streamlined. So I'm not saying that you will do this without your ERP. So please be aware that this automation will sit on top of your ERP and connect all the dots within your procurement process.
Which means that you're going to have to enlist some other folks organized in your ERP and your IT systems to be able to help implement that. So you mentioned the ERP, also the accounts payable, financial automation, all of this.
Yes, so this is one of my, so think of, if we talk about a business process called procure to pay, this is a silo within procure to pay business process. So, and this portion, I love this part, Dave, when I talk about account payable automation, because we have done this tons of times within the commercial industry. So what we do is we ingest the invoices as they're coming, regardless if they come through email, come through fax, come through, pay me an obscure ERP system of your vendor. We ingest all those invoices, make sense of the data through optical character recognition, whether it is HTML based, whether it is text, whether it is rich text or whatever it is, or even PDF, give mobile access to people using the technology that we use for AP automation, also integrate the analytics. But one point that I want to make here is all the data that is being collected upfront from the invoice is actually going directly to the ERP. That's where the ERP takes over. So this is again a layer on top of the on top of your payable system, but making the ingestion of your invoices much faster, more accurate, and automated. And then you can do supplier interaction as well. So I love this. I love this use case, and I've done this multiple times.
I can tell you're not passionate about this one at all. At all. Love it.
Absolutely.
And so this happens to be my favorite slide because of, the graphics that you created.
This is harking back to laboratory automation with my pharmacokinetics background from years ago. We, as part of the clinical manufacturing, which we were doing when we were going through phase 3 orphan drug status trials, we had to capture the data, track safety issues among the clinical patients, just like with COVID-19. When they were tracking the initial people who got it, we would take a look at what safety issues there were, see what insights we could get based on the data and the demographics of the people, handling the data, making sure that they were double-blind studies. So the RPA process took care of that. Managing the vendors, and this meant not only the vendors who were supplying us with the raw materials for the drugs, but also the equipment that we had in there to make sure everything was there at the right time. Commercial operations management, updating the market, patient engagement was all automated, because if the computer is interacting with the patient, that's it makes the double-blind study a lot better. Yep. Where neither the scientist nor the patient knows who they're talking to. So RPA with intelligent automation here is a really big help in double-blind studies. And of course, the back office management had to be seamless. In fact, every one of our back office processes has to be audited and verified by the FDA when we're doing drug studies. The Food and Drug Administration will not pass it otherwise.
Awesome. So, Terry just answered Rachel. For those of you who have to bolt, we get it. We understand. Sorry, we're running a couple minutes late. Good stuff. And Rachel, yes, you will get the documents via link, including a video as well. Good stuff for those, and we will get to some questions now. And there was one here from Chanel to say, in step 1, how is the data fed into the system, specifically if it's sent to individual inboxes? So in this instance, you're talking about email that's coming in, sounds like, right, Chanel? And then if it's fed into different individual email boxes, how you get it? Great question.
So this is part of your initial business process. Let's just take the business process apart, right? You have 6 people who are getting emails with data that needs to be looked at. We will turn that into one email address, and we say all these people are the distribution list underneath this email, so that there is only one email that the data is going to, and it's manageable. That is one solution I can think of. Manish, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm going to leverage my experience here building data warehouses and data lakes and stuff. Emails are just unstructured data that can be captured in a data lake, and then we use that information for the RPA. OCR was one thing you'd mentioned. Some of the techniques that fall in between pure data swamp and in a data warehouse is where we ask them to, and you've seen other companies do this, they'll ask you to put a certain thing in the header of the email. That way we know where it has to be directed. So that helps. So there are ways
So those emails become context sensitive emails depending on, and then route them accordingly.
And what I love about this, it doesn't matter what the feed is.
Right.
You'll figure out what the feed is. You'll adapt your bots, you adapt your system to be able to bring those in, fix them to a place where they can put in lakes or they can put into databases, whatever it is you guys do behind with you propeller heads, do whatever you do.
No, if you guys follow the NFL or you follow speeches, so CNN will use speeches and they'll use bots to figure out when keywords are said during the president's speech or anyone else's speech, and it will automatically take that word and take the first 15 seconds before it and the 15 seconds after it and create a clip. So then an analyst can go in there. How do you think they have all their questions answered 30 seconds after the president finishes his State of the Union address? They know exactly how to pull up that thing. On the ESPN side, they do the same thing where they look at all the plays in the game and it automatically goes, these are all the things within the running back is involved. This is all the wide receivers involved. And those go into those packages so that if I'm a wide receiver and I'm looking at the thing for next week's game, I can pull up a package that shows, and an RPA is organized this, show me every play that this cornerback was involved in because I know he's going to be on the other side of me when I play him next week. A lot of this is RPA and you don't even realize that it's being done.
Yep.
There's so many cool things. Obviously, we see like the RPA that we see every day as we pick up the phone, we call somebody, we want to try to get something done with their cell phone service. God forbid, shoot me in the head right away.
United, call United, and call United, and it's all natural language processing, right?
Over the last 2 weeks with the airlines, RPA has been used a lot, and a lot of people have yelled at RPA over the last 2 weeks with the airlines, including me.
There's a lot of room for yelling and various religions being lost lately with that. So we will, if there's any other questions, we will get to those. You will get a recap email by the end of today, which will have the presentations, links to the docs, a link to the video, like I said. And also, if you already responded, you'll get some communication directly from Kamal and Manish regarding getting together with you one-on-one or with an agency group, whatever you want to have, a SWAT team, whatever you want to call it from your side, to be able to help you get to where you want to go. And that is really the objective, because we're going to turn this in and we're going to keep this conversation going and making sure that we're hitting all of those folks. We want to thank everybody. We know we ran a couple minutes late. Apologies for that. Great stuff, by the way. From everything that is there is relevant for agencies and pieces in there. So thanks for joining us to all the different agencies that joined us today. If you want to reach out to 60, you can. Here's their cage, their UEI, all that. There's no obligation to buy from anybody, as we said before, but guess what? You can, because they have GSAs and multiple contracts and things like that. So let's see. Can I please get a copy of the video? Yes, you can get that sent to Miguel Rodriguez. We can certainly do that, Patrick, for you. Absolutely can do that. And let's see. We had some people that answered. I missed it earlier with Patrick. Both Patrick and Adrian got, or Adriane could be, got the ID10T error. That's right. It's an idiot error, which if we're all honest, we will make sure we all must agree that we all are participatory in that ID10T error and picnic errors from time to time. Right, guys?
Yes.
So awesome. Fantastic. Well, thanks. Great job, guys. And we'll continue the efforts to help with the RPA and meeting the initiatives. That is TikToking, right? And yes, you can, Carla. You can have a copy as well, because you are special enough to get one, Carla. Just saying. So awesome. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Am I saying it right? Adrian? Is it Adrian? Say 1 for Adrian and 2 for Adriani, because I've had
Yo.
Yo. Okay, we'll just go with that. Yo, Adrian. That's it. Got it.
That's kind of like asking the question I'd ask a friend, like, is it Porsche or Porsche? And he's like, depends on whether you own one or not. Okay.
That's exactly right. So, yo, Adrian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Great job, guys. Come on, as usual. Awesome. Love the energy as well as humanish. Awesome.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye,
We'll be
everyone.
in touch. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.